Hi friends, how are you doing today? I hope you're having an amazing day and you're staying blessed and in God's presence. Today we're going to be reading Proverbs chapter 5, and if you're new here, welcome, and don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow and reach more people. We are a Christian community. We come together every day to read a chapter in the Bible and just discuss it in the comments. And hopefully, if the interest is there, we're going to do a live session where we just discuss the week's readings, in real time, as well as adding prayer sessions in where we pray together on various prayer requests that y'all submit. My email is in the About section and also in the description box below, so you can always email me your prayer requests and I'll go ahead and add those in. I'm very new to this. I'm not a preacher or pastor or minister, but God has called me to start a community because I have social anxiety, so I'm not really able, or I haven't pushed myself to join a community in real life. So God was like, start here. You got to start somewhere, right? So I'm very glad you're here, and I'm looking forward to reading your comments about today's reading. So with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Today we are doing Proverbs chapter 5, and the title of this chapter is Avoid Immoral Women. Now, I always take offense to these kind of passages because I'm like, why doesn't it say avoid immoral men? Because I don't know about you ladies, but I've had a couple in my lifetime, and I really think that when I'm reading these sections, I kind of interchange the pronouns to not just mean women, but also men. So if you can do the same, I don't know what your thoughts or feelings are on that. I would love to read about it in the comments below, so don't forget to post them there. But I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So, chapter 5. My son, pay attention to my wisdom. Listen carefully to my wise counsel. Then you will show discernment, and your lips will express what you've learned. For the lips of an immoral woman are as sweet as honey, and her mouth is smoother than oil. But in the end, she is as bitter as poison, as dangerous as a double-edged sword. Her feet go down to death. Her steps lead straight to the grave, for she cares nothing about the path to life. She staggers down a crooked trail and does not realize it. So now, my sons, listen to me. Never stray from what I'm about to say. Stay away from her. Don't go near the door of her house. If you do, you will lose your honor, and you will lose the merciless people all you have achieved. And you will lose to merciless people all you have achieved. Strangers will consume your wealth, and someone else will enjoy the fruit of your labor. In the end, you will groan in anguish when disease consumes your body. You will say, "How I hated discipline. If only I had not ignored all the warnings. Oh, why didn't I listen to my teachers? Why didn't I pay attention to my instructors? I have come to the brink of utter ruin, and now I must face public disgrace. Drink water from your own well. Share your love only with your wife. Why spill the water of your springs in the streets, having sex with just anyone? You should reserve it for yourselves. Never share it with strangers. Let your wife be a fountain of blessings for you. Rejoice in the wife of your youth. She is a loving deer, a graceful doe. Let her breasts satisfy you always. May you always be captivated by her love. Why be captivated, my son, by an immoral woman, or fondle the breasts of a promiscuous woman? For the Lord sees clearly what a man does, examining every path he takes. An evil man is held captive by his own sins. They are ropes that catch and hold him. He will die for lack of self-control. He will be lost because of his great foolishness. Wow. So what did you think? I'm really interested to know how you felt about that, and I'm also looking forward to reading other versions, and I would suggest you do the same. I would suggest you do the same, because different wordings show a different light in things. Like the words are very powerful. And so as the Bible has been translated into many versions, I used to read the NIV, I think it's called the New International Version. I used to read that a lot. There's also like an is it ESL version or ESV that I used, English Standard Version, I think I used to read a lot. And then of course like the original Don Juan King James Version. And so, you know, each one kind of brings out something different when I read it, and seeing the change up in words, sometimes I'll prefer one version over another. So I would suggest that you, you know, read the other versions, you know, especially certain passages. I just like to kind of check the difference. I don't do it with everyone, but I probably should. I feel like that's a good part of a Bible study, is like looking at the different translations. So one thing that really stood out to me in this chapter was it was so like graphic. Like this was like Skinamax, where it's like fondling women's breasts and stuff. So it kind of made me uncomfortable the first time I read it. Like, I don't really want to be talking about fondling breasts and God in the same, but at the end of the day, that's life, and this is life. So, you know, I'd love to hear what you think about it. I don't know, maybe I'm just weird because it made me feel like weird when I read it, but I'm going to go ahead and start from the beginning. Again, what I said was I started to cross out, you know, everywhere it said woman and change it to man, and like the very first verse says my son, and I wanted to cross it out, and originally I crossed it out and put daughter, but then I didn't going forward. I just wanted to make myself aware that this isn't just pointed at women, because I think at first I kind of took offense to it, like, you know, I'm not immoral, like you don't have to avoid me. But then once I read it deeper, I realized those were like insecurities, I guess, based on sins that I've committed in the past, where, you know, I've been promiscuous, and I haven't always lived in my faith. So this chapter really, I guess, kind of made me uncomfortable because of that. And so now when I'm reading it, I'm a lot more confident as I'm reading it. And I'm also looking at it both ways. So let me stop rambling and get to the verses, the important part, what you're here for. So it says, pay attention to my wisdom, listen carefully to my wise counsel. And this is something that I find very important, because this pay attention part, and we talked about that a little bit in chapter 4, and paying attention to my wisdom also to me means listening. So and it says listen carefully to my wise counsel. So like sometimes we'll hear God's whisper, but it's so quiet that we ignore it. And that's how I know that I need to get like deeper and deeper and deeper and strengthen my relationship, because if I can hear him, even if it's just a little whisper, I know that I'm getting closer. And then also verse 2 says, then you will show discernment. So I'm seeking discernment to say, like, you know, I have thousands of thoughts going through my mind every day, and I'm sure you do too. So which ones are God's and which ones are yours? Which ones are the enemies? So that's where we need that wisdom, and we need to pay attention so that we can really isolate which thoughts are from God and which thoughts are our own and which are the enemies. And then your lips will express what you've learned. So as we get closer to God and as our relationship gets stronger, our lips, everything that we speak and that we say will start to reflect the wisdom that God has given us. For the lips of an immoral woman are sweet as honey, and her mouth is smoother than oil. So this is also for guys. Like, guys can be slick. They know exactly what to say to get in your pants. They know exactly what to say to, like, make you just give up everything if you don't have a very strong foundation. So, in the past, I haven't always had a strong foundation, but now I feel like as I'm building this foundation with God and really focusing on, reading every day and meditating on His Word, getting stronger, praying continuously, I'm starting to really be able to hear that smoothness, like when people, try to sweet talk you and that really they're doing something that they don't have any business doing, or you really know that they're lying to you or not telling you the truth. That wisdom, that discernment, that's coming from God to be able to see through that smooth talk. But in the end, she is as bitter as poison and dangerous as a double-edged sword. So people's true colors will always show. And you can also ask God for that. Like, God, show me, is this person supposed to be in my life? Help me to see this person for who they are. And, the closer that we get with God, the easier it will be for us to see those things. It says, her feet go down to death, her steps lead straight to the grave, for she cares nothing about the path to life. She staggers down a crooked trail and does not realize it. So this verse really stood out to me because for the longest time I was staggering and I was headed down a crooked path, but I didn't realize it because my mind was so clouded with the enemy, because I wasn't filled up enough with God to block out all those temptations and misleadings of the enemy. So it says, so now my sons, listen to me. Never stray from what I'm about to say. Stay away from her. Don't go near the door of her house. So don't even go near her door. Like, this was serious to me because don't stray away from what I say. So first things first, keep God as your priority. Second, stay away from her door. And this is very literal, but in today's world, it means everything, like social media, TV, music, all those things. We need to try to eliminate as much of those types of situations as possible from our lives. So the people that we hang out with, even just like when we see something, like we're scrolling through, when we see something, we stop and then like we want to dive deeper into it. Don't even open that door, because once you open the door, you're allowing the enemy in, and we want to keep him as far away as possible. So it says, if you do, you will lose your honor. You will lose to merciless people all that you have achieved. Strangers will consume your wealth, and someone else will enjoy the fruit of your labor. So this is getting really deep. It's saying like once you enter that realm, you really won't have anything for yourself. And then it goes down. It keeps, you will say, how I hate discipline. If only I had not ignored all the warnings. So, like wisdom, God, red flags, there's tons of things that we know, and sometimes we just choose to ignore it. So in my case, I'm trying to not be so passive about those types of things, really put a stop to them. And a lot of times I'm like, oh, it's harmless, maybe if I just ignore it. But it's not just about ignoring it, it's about like removing it from your life as much as possible. If only I had not ignored all the warnings. Oh, why didn't I listen to my teachers? Why didn't I pay attention to my instructors? How come, I have come to the brink of utter ruin, and now I must face public disgrace. Drink water from your own well. Share your love only with your wife. So, keep everything in the home. Like, not everything is for everybody. That goes for your friends. Like, some things are just between you and your family, and that's it. So then it gets down to the part where it says, let your wife be the fountain of blessings for you. Rejoice in the wife of your youth. She is a loving dear, graceful doe, and talks about fondling. And then it says, this is my favorite part, and I highlighted this verse because it was really special to me. It says, may you always be captivated by her love. And I just love that, because I think it's so important. We talk a lot about immoral women, but there's something that they're doing that we're not necessarily doing that makes people stray. And I'm not trying to say leave excuses. I think it's really important that when we enter into a relationship with somebody, we really get to know them. All assets of them, their values, their morals, what they like to do for fun, what are their pet peeves, so that once we enter into that commitment with them for like a lifelong, we know we're with the right person. And once you're in that relationship, when it says, let your wife be a fountain of blessings to you. So it goes both ways. Like, she has to be a blessing to you, but you also have to be a blessing to her. So we need to really put energy into our relationship continuously, not just in the beginning. And it'll be, so this verse right here really just hit home as far as relationships go, and how easy it is to just give up on a relationship when it's not going right, instead of really trying to get to the bottom of it and see if you can work it out. And part of that is not having those distractions of other people, other relationships, friends, those types of things. Like, keep that all out of your relationship and really focus on sharing your blessings with each other, being grateful for each other. And if we are seeking something out from someone else, whether it be a man or a woman, on either side, we have to find out, what is it that we're seeking that we're not getting at home, and how can we rearrange our lives so that we don't have to look for that elsewhere. We can get it at home. And that means that you and your significant other both need to be vulnerable and able to say, okay, this is something that I'm not doing, but I'm capable of doing. And so I don't want my significant other to stray. So I'm going to try to open myself up to their needs, and make sure I'm fulfilling their needs as they're fulfilling mine, so that we can stay in this union together. So then it goes down to say 4, the Lord sees clearly what a man does, examining every path that he takes. God's eye is always on you. So just remember, nothing is ever done in the dark. God sees it all. So don't think that just because no one knows doesn't mean that you're going to get away with it, because God knows. And verse 22 says, an evil man is held captive by his own sins. They are ropes that catch and hold him. This verse was very powerful to me, because it's talking about how your sins, you become a slave to your sins. You become a slave to the things that you shouldn't be doing. And that's one of the reasons why you shouldn't be doing. So, for instance, I used to smoke cigarettes. It's been a year since I have. And at that time, I didn't realize what a slave I was to them. Like, I have to have one before I eat and after I eat, and when I get up in the morning before I go to bed. And, I became led by that instead of led by God or just me myself. So I think that it's very easy for us to, let me rephrase that. I think that we need to really take an inventory of the things that are restraining us or holding us back from anything that we may want in life, and not being able to have the freedom to say, well, I can't go here because I can't smoke, or I have to do this one thing or my day isn't right. The only thing that should captivate you and hold you is God. So And we'll get to it in later verses. They talk about being a slave to God, but really you're free. Like, it's complicated. Anyway, oh my God, this is a mess and a disaster. Okay, so I'm really not, I don't feel like I'm really getting the point across, but I'll leave that to you in the comments below. Being held captive by your sin. So I guess the question I want to ask you is there anything in your life you feel like is holding you captive that you want to be free of? And it can be as simple as your diet. You know, like, I like sweets. Sometimes I feel like I'm held captive by it because I don't feel satisfied until after I've had dessert, after I eat, even if it's just like a little piece of candy. So while that's not like a huge sin, but gluttony is a sin. So if I'm full, why am I going and eating more? Because I have to have something sweet. So these are the things you just need to like kind of take an inventory of your life and see anything that may be holding you captive from your goals or from where you really want to be. He will die for lack of self-control. He will be lost because of his great foolishness. And again, I'm kind of straying from the topic of this, but I think that the self-control piece was very... it stood out to me because it's something that I'm working on personally. I was scrolling through YouTube and I saw a YouTube video that I saved to watch later, and I haven't watched it yet, so I'm not going to talk too much about it, but the title is what hooked me. It was like, if you don't have control over your belly, how can you have control over anything else? And I was like, dang, that's serious. Like, do I have control over what I eat? Like, am I able to say I'm full, I'm going to stop? Or am I a slave and held captive by my sin to say, oh, this is so good, I'm just going to keep eating it? So that really stood out to me. So I would love to hear your thoughts on it, and I cannot wait to read them in the comments below. So that's it for chapter 5. I hope you enjoyed the reading, and I cannot wait to read your comments. I hope that this inspired you to really dive deeper into your relationship with God. And with that, I just hope that you stay blessed and stay in God's presence, and I'll see you next time.